Right, so today we have another one of our question and answer kind of videos. And today we are going to be covering the 9 golden rules for nutrition. Now, I have no fucking clue why it's 9. It's in the brief, we have said to come up with 9 reasons. So I've got 9 reasons here on my phone, all ready and prepared, because I am, of course, a professional. And as a professional, I wrote this list about 80 seconds ago. So here we go. These are my 9 rules in no particular order about what I consider the key factors and golden rules for nutrition. Rule number 1, again, these are in no particular order whatsoever. Rule number 1 is learn what your macronutrients are. And what is a macronutrient? For those of you that don't know, your macronutrients are your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Now, really, what you need to learn there is the basics of what they are and what they do. Protein, if you're trying to build muscle, protein builds muscle. And this is a very oversimplification. Carbohydrates, for the most part, are an energy source. Same with fats. Fats is a pretty difficult one to go in terms of covering it simply. Fats, yes, although they are an energy source, but also there's a lot of health benefits, or not even benefits. I mean, the thing with fats are they can either be extremely beneficial or extremely negative, and ideally you need to learn to know the differences. So there's a massive difference between like shitty, greasy burgers versus extra virgin olive oil, macadamia oil, avocados. So really, that's something you should learn the differences between good fats and bad fats, essentially. But really, you just need to know what proteins are, carbohydrates are, and fats are. Number 2, I've got here is how many meals should you eat? Really, that kind of depends on your lifestyle. Some people can eat 7 meals a day, some people can't. It really depends on sort of how your day's set up, how active you are, what your job is, what your goals are. For me personally, I prefer 5 meals. Trying to get 6 meals in, for me, is a bit of a ball ache. I find it really difficult to basically it gets to about 10 o'clock at night, and that's when I get my 5th meal. So instead of staying awake another 2 hours to get a 6th meal in, I just make my 5 meals just a little bit bigger. And I found I've got better results that way because I can stick to it. It fits my day perfectly, and also it satiates my hunger by having 5 slightly larger meals than 6 slightly smaller meals. So person dependent. If you want to have 3 meals, fine. If you want to have 4 meals, fine. If you want to have 746 meals a day, absolutely fine. Just whatever suits you. Number 3, keep it simple. Now that doesn't really mean anything, and it also means everything. When I say keep it simple, I kind of just mean the foods that you find very easy to cook, foods that you find easy to prepare, and foods that you find easy to eat. And that doesn't mean junk food. Like, the opposite of keeping it simple would be having 7 meals a day where every meal is completely different to the next, which would make it extremely difficult to prepare, could cause a ton of washing up, which no one wants, and it just makes it really difficult to stick to. So when I say keep it simple, it means simply that. Make it as easy as possible for you to prepare the food you need for the goals in mind, and it'll make it much easier to stick to. Number 4, choose the foods that like you, not just the foods that you like. Now, I'm a big believer in this, and essentially what that means to me is, how many people have you heard have said to you, you can't eat bread, fucking bread's the devil, or you don't eat pasta, don't eat dairy? Who says who? It really goes down to what your body likes and what it processes well. I mean, if you can drink milk and you have absolutely 0 problem digesting it, it doesn't give you any issues, then you can have milk and dairy in your diet, not a problem. Like myself, I eat bagels every day because I have no issue with bread. Now, that's not to say you can just eat shit food because you like it. What it means is don't be afraid of foods that many people consider a big no-no if you digest them just fine. Like if you literally fucking hate rice but you can eat bread, then I don't see a problem with eating bread. And this is just general nutrition. Competitive bodybuilding in terms of dieting for a contest, that may be slightly different, but in terms of just the general average person, if you're not a celiac, you don't have a problem with gluten, you don't have a problem with dairy, it really shouldn't be a problem. Okay, where are we now? Number 5, eat mostly clean food. Now, clean, to a lot of people that means boring, bland, shit food. Now to me, in bodybuilding, we all know what clean food means. It's just an umbrella term. It doesn't really, it doesn't really mean anything specific. What clean food means to me is the least ingredients, or the closest it is to being natural as possible, is the cleaner it is. So chicken breast on its own is just chicken breast, it's one ingredient. KFC is chicken breast plus a load of other shit on top of it. So that's not clean, essentially. So for me, you want to stick to foods that are mostly clean. So your rice and your chicken. But again, going back to the last point, if you prefer foods that are a bit less clean, but they suit you just fine, not a problem. But you want to stick to mostly clean foods, which again means a lot of fruits, lots of vegetables, and lots of quality nutrients in terms of good quality meat, good quality carbohydrate sources, and good quality fats. But again, that's a general sense. It doesn't mean everything has to be clean, because clean doesn't really mean anything. But I know you guys know there's a massive difference between a pizza and chicken and rice. You know there's a big difference in terms of what clean and what isn't. But if you want to eat a bit of shit from time to time, again, it's about balance. It's about finding out the difference between overeating and undereating shit food. Like if you want to have a pizza once a week, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be any harm. Having pizza every day, however, would probably become a problem for most people, and that's where balance comes in. And that's why I say eat mostly clean food. It's much more satiating, it's much easier to track, and you're holding yourself accountable, because it's easy to eat shit food. It's very difficult to consistently eat a lot and prepare a lot of clean food. How much protein? This is, I think in terms of how much protein an individual should have, this is one of the only things that kind of has a general rule to it. And for me, it would be 1.5 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. So I mean, I eat about 400 to 450 grams of protein a day, and I weigh 305 pounds at the moment. And when I say lean body mass, let's work out on the old calculator. So I weigh about 255, 260. Let's say I weigh 260 pounds in contest shape, times that by 1.5 equals 390. So I overeat my amount of protein. But again, that's because I'm just playing it safe. But 400 to 450, that's about right for me. If you weigh, say, 200 pounds, times 1.1, yeah, 300 grams of protein. So that's ideally what you want to be shooting for if your aim is to build muscle. Number 7, weigh your food, don't just guess. When you've learned what a macronutrient is, you've chosen the foods you like, or the foods that like you, and you know how to keep it simple, you should know what amount of carbohydrate, or you should know the amount of protein you need. You should have a general guess of the amount of carbohydrates and fats that you'll need. And then the question is how do you apply that? It's very simple. Make sure you buy a set of scales and weigh your food. And then you can track your food, you know exactly how much you're eating. If you're starting to get a bit chubby, you know to reduce your food, you know where to reduce it. If you're not gaining weight and you're not gaining any muscle, you know exactly what you're eating, so you can add it onto there and add a numerical value to your food. Number 8, adhere to your diet. So basically, if you're following a diet, even if it's 80% clean, 20% shit food, that's fine, but make sure you follow that diet. So if you're doing a keto diet, stick to it. If you're doing carb backloading, which is all your carbs after training for the day, stick to it. So whatever you're doing, whichever diet approach you have taken, stick to it and follow it to the T. Because the problem a lot of people have is just the same with training. They'll stick to it for a few days and then start changing things. You keep doing that, you're never really going to know what works. You're never going to get any feedback. You're never going to be able to evaluate things and make changes. And number 9 is just almost doubling up on that last rule, is be consistent. So you have to eat the same kind of way for years and years and years to reach an elite level. Don't just stick to it for like 2 weeks. That's not really consistent. In my opinion, to notice the real benefits of a diet and a training program, you want to give it at least 10 to 12 weeks without missing a beat. So let's just say, going back to the endurance thing, if you say, I'm going to eat 2 cheat meals a week, I'm going to eat 3,500 calories a day from this amount of protein, carbs and fats, that's fine, but make sure you stick to that. And you stick to it for a long period of time, keep doing it day in, day out, prepare ahead of time, you know, and make sure, and again, going on point number 9, which is be consistent, the same thing goes to making sure you're prepared in advance, which is the same thing as consistency. Consistency to me means preparing in advance. So there's that well-known saying, which is fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Simply put, make sure you're prepared ahead of time, take your meals with you, and be consistent every day, and do that for a long period of time. You do that for a long period of time and you stay consistent with it, I guarantee you'll get the results you're looking for. So that's about it, really. That's my made up, on the spot, 9, I don't know why it's 9 rules for nutrition. And those rules are something I've stuck to my entire career, and I've done okay, not doing too bad. So try it yourself, leave your comments below, and if you have any questions, obviously put them below, I'll answer them the best I can. There's probably a lot of things I've missed, because trying to break down something that I consider second nature into 9 points is quite difficult. But if you found this useful, leave a comment. If you have more questions or you don't quite get what I mean, leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer them. So, right, I'm gonna go and eat, so cheers.